For coming in, and now we will learn about how to create a well-performing App Store listing. The talk by Elena. Please welcome her.
Welcome to my speech about how to create a high-performing App Store listing for your mobile game. What we will be talking about, I'll start off with a short introduction. I'm from Austria, working at AppRadar. I would say over the last years, I've worked together with various out there across various industries to grow their games and apps through organic and paid user acquisition. And today I'm working in AppRadar, helping to grow AppRadar platform. We will then dive into, I will tell you a bit about AppRadar in a nutshell, and then we'll dive right away into how and create your own high-performing store listing that will drive downloads. Then open for questions also after the talk, obviously, and be prepared for a for a small offer that we have at the end of the talk. All right, for those who are not familiar with AppRadar itself, we are an app marketing platform enabling best practice marketing for basically all businesses with apps. How do we do this? We have a self-service app marketing tool where we offer simplified analytics and standardized marketing workflows. So basically helping mobile games and apps out there growing the apps through organic and paid user acquisition. Besides our self-service tool, we also do have an in-house agency where you can get tailored solutions for organic and paid user acquisition. And I have with me today also 2 team members of our agency team. So if you're up to talk or chat about, just feel free to cross by. All right, let's get into it on how you can actually create now this, what I just mentioned before, this high-performing store listing. And we will walk step by step through the different steps, starting from market research until App Store search optimization at the one hand, also quickly talking about App Store conversion rate optimization, then how you can actually scale and optimize those activities further, and in the end, analyze the performance, all with the goal in mind that attracting hopefully a high amount of download through that store listing page, and hopefully hitting those performance targets that you set yourself. Okay, I mean, your competitors are not sleeping and neither should you. And with that being said, I would like to encourage you to start like all this optimization process that you're doing really with digging into the market, trying to see like what are those competitors out there doing? I mean, I'm not talking about being a copycat, but really trying to get inspiration from the industry out there and trying to take those learnings, what other players are doing, to your own app marketing strategy. Really trying to see where is your game in the specific category positioned across the different countries. Look, who are those emerging players out there and those threats for your mobile game in terms of downloads, for example, looking at who had recently a spike in downloads and took away maybe some of your downloads of the app. Also, an interesting angle can be to look at the category rankings itself and who had a push there recently. Also, in general, like look what are the trends out there that are happening in the industry. And always one recommendation that I would give you is to look at the strategy that competitors are having in terms of app store optimization, and also like it can be looking at which keywords do they include in their store listing page, which keywords do they bid on with Apple searches, for example, which creatives are they using, like to really get inspiration from successful players out there. You can also then leverage for yourself. And what I have as an action step here, what I would recommend you is what we are, for example, also doing inside the team, like trying to put a weekly, I would say 1 or 2 hours blocker to research really those trends out there in the industry. Like, I don't know, give yourself inside the team every week, another team member presents a case study of a mobile game out there, and then present it to the rest of the team members and take those learnings into the next step of my step-by-step guide. And I also always like to say, start with App Store optimization, so with organic optimization as a first, really see it as the heart of all your app marketing efforts. And that, you need a solid App Store optimization foundation in order to be able to have that constant stream of really high quality users across various channels. Because in the end, if we're thinking of course, there are like a lot of different channels out there, paid user acquisition, and various other things that you can do to drive traffic to your product page or to get those downloads. But in the end, imagine it like they arrive in your store listing, but in the end, they are not convinced to download. So really make sure that you have an appealing store listing and convince them in that moment when you already got them there, that they will also click on download. And how can you do that? Yeah, I like to split it into App Store search optimization and App Store conversion rate optimization. So when we're talking about search optimization, really what is here the goal? Being able to appear on top of the search results when someone is looking for a specific keyword. So really ensuring that you use relevant keywords on your store listing page. And what are here the steps, like how to do that is on the first step, I would always say like, try to build up a keyword backlog of relevant keywords for your game category. So really looking at different metrics here. On the one hand, look at keywords that have a decent search volume. So keywords that people actually are looking also for in the source and you can expect downloads from. Then very important is the relevancy of those keywords. So really trying to look at what in the best possible way describes your mobile game. And at the same time, especially when you're just starting off, look at keywords that are not too competitive in the beginning, and ASO tools or app marketing tools such as AppRadar can give you those values, as I will show you at the next slide. And yeah, ideally, if you're already out there for a bit of longer time and you already have those keyword rankings, then try to look at keywords that ideally you're already ranking in the top 30 keyword positions, and then try to take those and push them further into ideally top 10, because this is where we also can expect the downloads then in the end from. And yeah, if you have identified these focus keywords that you want to prioritize, you have said like, these are the 15 keywords that I want to really improve my ranking on. Obviously, it's time to implement them in your store listing and make sure that you give the algorithms the sign that you want to rank for those. So my recommendation here in that phase would be trying to really get into that regular cycle of updating your store listing every 1 to 2 months. Here, quick example of the AppRadar platform giving you the possibility to set up that keyword tracking and also pushing it then live to the stores across various countries. Talking about App Store conversion rate optimization, so we have included those keywords on the page, and then it's really also about what impression you give in terms of creatives to users that arrive in your store listing. So really making sure that I cannot encourage it enough, but really try to ensure that you test. Really try to get into that systematic testing loop of looking at different creative concepts, trying to test different, it can be sometimes simple changes, but that can make a big difference, I would say. It's like, try to test the order of screenshots, or try to test different headlines, different messaging in the headlines. Really then look at, when you do this A/B testing with platforms out there that are for free, like the Google Play experiments or product page optimization from Apple, try to see which concept that you're testing is now bringing you the most clicks and installs, and based on that, try to evaluate further. And one expert tip, custom product pages would be an option from iOS 15 feature that helps you to provide this personalized user journey for people arriving in your store listing and helping you to also improve conversion rates and hopefully lower acquisition costs. So what is here the action steps? Try to set up an A/B testing plan for the next 3 months. That would be with some ideas in mind. There are, of course, as I said before, if we're talking about market research, you've done your research, looked at what our competitors out there doing. Here are some examples, like it can be a motivational approach that you're trying to convince users to download, or promoting new features, show users that you're always up to date. Gameplay, or also customization can have an impact, that you show like, hey, my game players, they can customize or choose the look themselves, and really trying to test what works for your game in the end the best. And then, think big, start small, and then scale or fail fast. And what I would want to highlight here is really try to identify activities that do support growth. So really trying to always get into that constant testing and optimization loop, and then try to scale activities that do work for your mobile game. So for example, when we talk about app store optimization, try to see which changes now move the needle. If you include a certain keyword in the title, it might improve, or maybe at some keywords they're just simply too competitive for now, and try to change around the positions, try which other keywords you can implement, which other creative concept can help you drive those downloads that you're trying to achieve, and really try to also be honest to yourself and say, hey, I've tried to identify why it doesn't work, and I'm also able to now say, okay, let's keep this and try to focus on something else. Another thing, obviously, if we're talking now, I focused my whole speech on organic app store optimization, and I'm a huge fan of this topic. And obviously, at some point, you might arrive at a certain stage where you're not able anymore to grow only organically. And this is the moment where I really emphasize start advertising also with, or start using paid user acquisition channels. Try to elaborate what can bring you like those native channels, Apple Search Ads and Google App Campaigns, for example, where you have a high search intent because users are already in the store. And then again, try to also take learnings that you gather there, see which impact does that have on your specific game. Try to, kind of push also at the same time learnings from there, take them into your organic store listing page. So if you see, for example, certain messages that drive downloads within your paid advertising, then try to see what does it do if I take that message and include it in my screenshots on my organic page, for example, and really seeing it as a loop, I would say. Obviously, there are multiple ways of growing your games out there. Some, I would say, big topic being localization, trying to really localize the whole app store listing, trying to see, first of all, trying to see which markets actually are worth it. So looking at different angles, like which countries have impact or have potential in terms of revenue, where do I already get an organic traction, and what does it do now if I would offer version of my store listing, but not only of the store listing, also important, obviously, the in-app experience itself being in local language. And then last but not least, I'm a huge fan of testing new things. So I always encourage people to always see what are the stores offering as new features, and some of them being, for example, the custom product pages or the in-app events and live ops that got a lot of buzz in the industry last year. So still being a topic, and I would obviously recommend to also use that for scaling or at least testing it. And last but not least, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So that being a huge topic, and I think I could do a whole talk only about this. But in a nutshell, trying to really evaluate the key results and try to take those learning and try to build a basis for a next iteration. So really trying to see which impact does now ASO update have on keyword rankings, on installs, especially on apps to search traffic, also including in your analysis impact factors. So like really trying to see it from the bigger picture view. So what impact does now my product performance have? So app health metrics, which impact do my ratings and reviews, which is a very important topic also on your store listing page. All those different things out there, how do they correlate? And then in the end, use also the performance across those channels, and then try to create a standardized reporting structure. And this is just an example on how Operator could help you with analyzing the performance across channels and also seeing the impact on keyword rankings. And here is my very last slide. It's just a checklist. I already talked about all those steps, so I will not annoy you any further. But thank you very much for listening. I've promised in the very beginning that I do have a special offer. If you want to give AppRadar a try, feel free to test out the 7-day free trial. And with the promotion code AppGrowth, you will get 30% off on the first month with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, questions? That's great.
Hi, I'm just thinking that you're talking about marketing part, but also design part is really important also. And I mean, not like whole game maybe, but main icon and screenshots. So you're working only with marketing part, or I'm just interested how do you think which part is this 50-50 design and marketing, or which part for design and how much part for marketing, and how it works in your job? Thanks.
Thank you. Great question. Yeah, I think that all those different departments should work closely together. And when I was working myself with clients on let it be organic or paid user acquisition, so I myself for my job was focusing very much on the marketing side, but obviously we collaborated very closely with, for example, product team or design team, because in the end, like I always like to say, is if you do not have a stable product, that all of what I just told you is simply useless, because I can have perfect metadata and a perfect optimized SOL listing, but if the app crashes a lot or inside the game the designs are not convincing, then the whole cycle will simply not work. So it's hard now to give an estimate, I would say, because it depends strongly, in my opinion, on the industry and the size of the company that you're working in, on how it's split. So in the beginning, obviously, I would say that the bigger part is focused on dev and design inside the app itself. But then when we talk about now creatives, as you mentioned, also icon and screenshots in the store listing page itself, I think it also depends in which cycle of the app or of the game you are in. So in the beginning, I would say, or at least that's how we brew various games, is like try to really get those keyword rankings up, that you get the visibility. But once you have a certain amount of stable keyword rankings, then try to see how much further you can improve the conversion rate. And here is really the part where I would say you should put more focus on creatives optimization, optimizing, testing the icon and screenshots and stuff. Thanks.
More questions? In that case, okay.
Hi, I was just interested if you provide as a part of your service any assistance regarding the featuring on the App Store or on Google Play.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do help with that. Of course, in the end of the day, it's a bit of a black box as well. I need to be honest here, but we do have various guides. We do help with applying for featuring. For example, if some of you don't know, you can apply for featuring on Apple. Yeah, different approaches to apply there and different chances. What we have learned over the years, what has the highest impact, let's say, and the highest chances of getting featured by Apple. I mean, now with the new placement that Apple Search Ads is offering in the Today tab, yeah, being a bit of a paid featuring, I would say. Yeah, we do help with running Apple Search Ads as well. But as part of our organic user acquisition services, we do help with featuring as well and giving you tips and tricks on how to get on that page.
Hello, just a small question. I was wondering, when you were talking about market research, in that part, when you are researching competitors, there are multiple avenues you can go with, but I'd like to understand whether you are enabling to search also the history of changes within your competitors, or you are seeing just the current setup, what they have. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So I would always look at historical data. We do offer that in App Radar marketing tool as well. So you can look in our app timeline, it's called, which changes did they do across various locals. So you can see like which changes in the metadata they did, giving you great hints to see, okay, now apparently, let's assume you had a drop on, I don't know, strategy game keyword. And then you check the app timeline and see, hey, this competitor now heavily focused on that. They implemented on, I don't know, 30th of October. They changed in the title, they put strategy game, and thereby really giving you that hint. Yeah. So yeah, check it out.
More bugging questions? So what would you advise to a team that has done like multiple iterations of the tests, like 5, 10 of them, each with multiple variants based on some research, and none of those tests became like positive, increasing the traffic? So what would you advise to this team?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I think a lot of people struggle with. So I think it can be seen from different angles now. Like I also split it into search and conversion rate optimization. But let's assume now we're talking about search optimization, so keywords. Then what I very often encounter is like game developers coming to me and like, yeah, but like, why am I not ranking for this keyword? Now I did everything. I included it in the title. I repeated it. I'm even bidding on it with Apple Search Ads or whatever. But simply what I try to emphasize then after having checked that obviously the keyword is relevant, because otherwise you will have very low chances of ranking for it and will also harm the conversion rate. But in the beginning, if you do not have like you're starting off compared to big players out there that have a lot of traffic, a lot of downloads, and therefore also a lot of ranking power, it will be very hard, and probably it's simply a too competitive keyword. So really working here with an ASO tool that tells you then also, hey, how did now in terms of competitiveness, how is that value looking like? And maybe in the beginning looking at, keywords that have maybe a bit of a lower search volume. So maybe not like everyone is looking for that keyword, but it's still better to rank on a keyword, I would say, that has a lower search volume behind, but you appear in the search results and on a high position, because people are lazy scrolling, but really re-evaluating, I would say, is it simply too competitive? And the same, for A/B testing creatives, I think it is really about, you will fail a lot of times, so you will see, hey, this didn't work, but I would just take it as a learning and say, okay, maybe a motivational approach is not working for myself, but I rather focus on now testing this, and with time you will also learn what works, and always take it further as a next step. I hope that
Okay,
answers
thank
the
you.
question.
We've got like a few minutes for the last question. If we answered everything, then Elena, thank you very much for your lovely presentation, and we will continue with presentation about success of a figurine art game.